everyone. My name is Aradia. I am from Aradia the Weaver. If you're here, you know that because it's on my channel. I have a person here with me. Hi, person. This is
That's
Belky.
me. Hi,
Belky's
Robert.
gonna be hanging out with us today and asking a bunch of questions regarding D.I.D. Or I'm really bad at introductions. My host is best at these kinds of things. I'm still getting used to it. How do I do this?
Introductions are hard.
Do you know how to do them?
No, I bite, so that's about all I can think of.
Ah, yes. The universal love language. I bite. Yang, 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 yang. Okay. So just so we can get into it, this is called the Lore Project, aka a system. The reason that we have this podcast here today is so that we can help normalize the stigmas behind DID, dissociative identity disorder, OSDD, bipolar disorder, and MPD, formerly, or DID is formerly known as MPD or multiple personality disorder. Um, so yeah, we're just going to be talking about a few things that, you know, we want to talk about, or if there's any questions that you have, please feel free to comment in the chat and we'll answer them as best as we can. This is supposed to be entirely informative, so if you have questions, concerns, or anything like that, you are always welcome to ask. This is a safe space. We want to make sure that mental health is taken seriously, especially nowadays with so many new things coming out and so many things that are being kind of swept under the rug and ignored. So we don't want to ignore stuff like that. We want to be able to discuss that and have a spot or a place that we can actually do that too. So let's begin.
Let's
So
begin.
yes, my host asked you to write down any questions that you had regarding DID. But before we get to those, um, what what about DID do you know already? Like what is the basics of what you know?
There's a lot because I also have it. It's
Ah,
just the one thing I've noticed a lot about it is it presents vastly different in so
mm-hmm.
many different people.
It does.
It's honestly kind of interesting to see like how it presents in other people. So it's like I don't know. It's because it's like the best. I think the most interesting thing about it is like you never get the same experience between, at least in my experience from the people I know that haven't I've talked to have different experiences with it. So it's just
Mm.
interesting to see the different perspectives.
Yeah, and that is one thing, and you make a good point. Everyone's perspectives, and not even perspectives, it's really just everyone's experiences when it comes to
Mm,
DID is always going to be vastly different. And I think that's just because every system is built different. Not every person with DID is a system, and not every person with DID has, the amount that some people do. For
mm.
example, some people may have like th-
Shut up.
oh well, yeah, actually. So some people with DID may have like one or two different alters, whereas some people may even have like six or seven different alters.
I got
Um,
5. Let's go.
you do?
Yeah.
That's honestly that's kind of awesome. And then if you don't mind me asking, what is your it's gonna sound like a silly question, but what is your relationship with them? Is it healthy? Is it kind of like you can hear them here or there, you talk to them off and on, or they pop out here or there and you're just not aware of it, or anything like that?
One of them used to be a problem child. We will say that much.
Yep, we always have one of those.
hmm But it's kind of like in my experience with it is we have like a really good like relationship going on, mostly because it's just like everybody gets input. It's like I've noticed there's a lot of people that I've met. There's like some people that have like they have different ones that front and stuff. It's not like that with me. I've never had like a fronting situation, considering, like I said, there used to be just one and they were a problem child. And I was like, yes, no, we're going to get in trouble if you are if you are behind the wheel.
That's understandable. So
Yeah.
that can happen from time to time. So there's all different types, and this is something that's very fascinating.
Mm,
People, with different alters will have different types of alters. They're not necessarily people. Sometimes
mm.
they can be like animals, or they can be, animal like people. They can be mystical creatures like vampires and demons and
Demons. I
monsters
have
and stuff
two
like
of those.
that. And
I've noticed there's a meme. There's a meme that's floating around for like I've been on like I got on like system TikTok a couple of times.
mhm. That was probably because of my host. They've been getting a lot of those. And
they're
they
so
repost so many.
they're so funny. There's one that was just like the big meme that I've noticed a lot of us that have that we have in common is just like they're like, yeah, that one that shows up just like, I am Lord Demon from so and so. It's like, whoa, hold on, calm down. You are part of a
Right.
system and you need to chill. That was my problem, child.
I don't know. I don't know if my host has ever had a problem child. With how long they've had it. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, this is something that I talked about on the first episode of the Lore Project. But
Hmm.
people with DID, there's something that's called fusing. So sometimes the roles or the altars will combine together and create a completely new type of altar. That's happened several times with my
Hmm.
host personally. I'm fairly new actually. So for those who don't understand, people who have DID tend to have different types of altars. They can range from different ages, being younger or older. In my case, I am one of the children. Hi. So I'm a young person still learning the ways of the world. They can be different genders to a physical body, so it's kind of like having body dysmorphia sometimes whenever you look in the mirror, and
Oh
it could
my
be
god.
yeah, it could be part of your switch. You might not even realize you do it sometimes. They can have different names. They don't have to have a name. There's different roles and functions. Um, and it's usually related to like daily life stuff, or if there's a trigger that happens, then that's usually how a switch will happen. Switches are not something that is forced. You can't really force that. And we talked about that in the first episode as well, but if we need to touch up on it again, we absolutely will. Um, but for the most part, DID is something that is more of a what's the word for it? Protective. We're like a shield. Yeah. We're your meat shields. You
Meat
throw us in front of the
change.
trauma.
And they beat it up. It's like that.
Exactly. And out of curiosity, Belfie, how long have you known my host?
Fuck. Oh my god. It's been a while. Holy shit. Like 5, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Oh wow. Well, during that time, I'm sure even in that short amount of time, you've seen them go through like different phases.
Hmm.
Since they have like their VTuber, I'm sure you've seen the different, characteristics and, changes that they've gone through. Very similar to like changing clothes.
Hmm.
Um, that is a type of coping. And it's funny enough, it's a really good way for VTubers who with DID to be able to express themselves and express their alters through different faces. It makes them feel more comfortable. That's why I'm here.
And that's why I'm a shapeshifter.
Yeah. but
Problem solved.
but enough about the technicalities. Let's get to your
Mhm.
questions. What would you like to talk about? What's the first question you got there, or whatever comes to mind?
First one I have on the list is how does your DID present itself? Does everybody take turns? Are they switch, or do you have like the only way I can think to explain it is like a council setup because that's what I have, where it's not
Um,
necessarily like taking turns. It's it's probably a good reason why I blue screen a lot when people ask me things
I mean
because
that
it's
makes sense.
the best way I can think to explain it. Think like a bunch of people just crowded around one keyboard at a computer, and that's probably that my setup.
Well, the way that it presents itself here in our system is a little bit
Mm,
different. We're a little bit quieter, actually. For the most
mm,
part, our host, you know them as Beck. So for the most part, our host will be essentially like taking the wheel and driving the body. And then we're kind of like an afterthought. Um, so think of it more like if you're trying to have an internal thought, but your internal thought is talking to you like you're a secondary person. That's us. So it's like your brain is never quiet. It just keeps talking and talking and talking, and they're like, shut up.
mm, mm,
So that's kind of how it presents itself here. However, um, our host does also have PTSD.
mm,
And they have been diagnosed with that as well. Because of that, there are a lot more triggers that happen for our protector to come out. And our protector is pretty, they're like the passenger seat most of the time. But if something significant happens where the host is unable to, take care of themselves or function properly or calm themselves down, then that's whenever a big switch can happen, and it's very significant. There's a lot of the times where, they'll lose that memory of whoever switched out, and they
mm.
won't know exactly what happened during that time. We use this thing that's called, oh my gosh, what is, hang on, I keep talking about it and I always forget about it. You can blame that on the DID. Where is it? Simply plural. So that is a application that we use to communicate with each other whenever we have those disassociative moments. So you can actually create little profiles for each of the alters. And if somebody switches and there's something important they want to talk about, or they need to tell the host or tell somebody else, they can make a note there. And then when the other person decides to check it, they'll be able to see the note. The last note here was from June, who was saying thank you for telling me happy birthday because JoJo, who is a longtime friend of the host, knows one of the alters, and her name is June or June Say, and she's actually a part wolf. She
I
got the blue hair
mean,
with a blue fluffy tail. Yeah. And I think that's kind of why a lot of people don't take DID very seriously, because alters can present themselves in such fantasy-esque ways, and it almost makes it sound fake. And I kind of understand from somebody who doesn't have it, like their
mm,
perspective, but to disregard it is completely different. Because when you're an adult
yeah.
and you're saying, "Hey, I have this alter who's a half wolf or a vampire or something like that," and they're like, "You're an adult. Why are you making up little kid stuff like that?" And it's like, no. What are you?
Hmm.
Oh,
I'm
I got
right
off
there
track.
with
I'm
you. We,
sorry.
I can't say anything. I'm right there with you. We definitely got our monster in the basement.
Yeah. It's me.
It's not the. It's weirdly enough, that's not the problem child. They look a lot like my. Actually, they look almost exactly like my monster form. It's like around whenever I got like the first art of that and got that put together. They didn't like have like a concrete form, and then I fixed that, and it was like, yep, nope, we like this one, and now they're that's what they look like.
But
Hmm.
yes, so I guess to long story short, your question, they can present themselves in so many different ways, but for the most
Hmm.
part, it's it's pretty much the host, but then there's just a lot of voices happening at once unless something incredibly triggering happens. Then
Hmm.
that's when a switch can happen. But for the most part, our host does suffer from a lot of the disassociative part, which can
Hmm.
be very debilitating for like day to day activities or day to day life because they end up losing a lot of time throughout the day, week, months, sometimes even years.
If that ain't the mood, if that ain't the
Mm.
mood.
Do you have a lot of like the disassociative part of DID, or is it pretty minimalized when it happens?
I do, but I it presents itself in a weird way because like I'm in my head like a lot, mostly because all of us are just talking.
Yeah.
So very, it's an interesting perspective on it, and it's really weird to tell people about it.
You know, there's a really fun trick that you can do whenever you think
Mm.
that, am I having internal thoughts or am I talking to one of my alters? And our host did this the other day because they saw an example of it on TikTok and we're like, haha, I'm gonna try it. And the results were very funny. So essentially, it's ask a silly question. Ask a question that you wouldn't normally ask, and then how that is answered is usually how you know. So, for example, the host is incredibly allergic to, you know, nuts, right?
Mm.
So they were like, I wonder if we have peanut butter in the house. And the way that you can tell if you are talking to an alter or if you're talking to yourself is if you hear it this way. So I'm going to do an example.
Mm.
I wonder if we have peanut butter in the house. Why would I have peanut butter in the house? I'm allergic. Or the the altar. Why would you have peanut butter in the house? You're allergic. it's it's the use of those like pronouns, you
Mm.
know, of like why would I or why would we or why would you, and
Mm-hmm.
and when you hear it in a different way, you're like, oh, that's not my brain. That's somebody else's brain talking to me.
I feel like some people pick up on that with me because I've noticed myself doing that a lot, where I'll like say something and I'll use we.
Right, right. And you know what's very funny? It is
Hmm.
incredibly common for people with DID to be non-binary or to be um what is it called? Gender fluid
Hmm.
because they have so many alters of different types of genders that they, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't nothing fits because it's not going to because there's so many, you know?
We've hit the point where we're just like, nah, we don't like any of them. There's too much going on here.
Exactly.
We have we have let me see. We have three creatures. We have one that's anything but a man.
Anything.
And then we have one female. So it's interesting in here.
So, um, for the most part, if I remember correctly,
Mm,
all of the altars that my hostess have had are all female presenting in a way, but
mm,
they do have some male presenting. Now, some of them don't necessarily care how they dress.
mm.
They like the comfort. But then there's ones like me who ruin it for everyone because I like wearing dresses and I like looking cute and they can deal with it. So there are some days where it's like, yeah, I want to look cute today. And then they'll look in the mirror and be like, ew.
No! They're like, no!
They're like, I don't want
Ah!
this. I don't want it at all. But
Like
I'm
banging on
like,
the door. No!
but I'm like, yes.
Oh my
And it
god.
happens so much. And I can't tell you how many times um the host's significant other, Morphe, I believe.
Mm.
Whenever they'll walk in and there's like six different pairs of clothes on the bed, and they're like, I don't know what to wear. Nothing looks right. and I know we're laughing about it, but it is such a struggle. It
It
is
is.
such a
It is.
struggle.
It is. I still have not figured out my style at all. Going clothes shopping is a special pain.
That's why we express ourselves through VTubers, because they can wear and do whatever we want.
Exactly. Exactly. I think the big one that's like forever there is like, why don't I have horns and sharp teeth? This should be a
Give me the
crime.
TVs. See, I've got buck teeth. I like my buck teeth. They, they're like little rat chompers. I bite extra hard. I'm
I'm too feral coated to have my teeth.
It'll happen. Someday you'll receive the TVs you've always wanted.
Oh, it's gonna be over.
Tons of bite marks all over the household.
They're
What's
not
that?
prepared.
Is that foil? I bite it. Now there's TV marks in it. Is that paper? I'm gonna bite
Oh,
it. Is that
oh
a bill?
no.
I'm gonna bite that too.
See, that's why we had to start going. I need to get back into buying gum, but like gummy candy is the big one for me mostly because it's like this helps with my feral need to bite things.
That reminds me, I have gummy bears. Hang on.
Let's go. I have peach rings, but they're upstairs. I don't want to get up.
I got my gummy bears.
Let's go.
So, or you wanna hear my chewing? So,
Mm.
that's actually that actually reminds me. So the gosh, these gummy bears are so good. Sorry, hang on.
What brand? What brand?
Haribo Gold Bears.
Okay, those are good, but then there's the Albanese gummy bears.
Mm.
They're so good.
Did you
They're so
know?
good. Mm.
Off topic, completely off
Mm.
topic. Did you know that the green gummy bear from Haribo is strawberry?
No, that's fake. I refuse to believe that.
Right. It
No.
says so on the back, and Derek
That
told me.
no, that does
I'm
not even
looking at
sound
it right
right.
now.
I think we're being gaslit. That's what I'm going with.
I believe you. I really believe you. That doesn't sound right. Green? Green is not strawberry.
Exactly. The flavor for strawberries doesn't come from the leaves.
No.
Thank you very much.
And then they said red is raspberry. No, it's not. Okay,
It's strawberry or cherry, and you know it.
Or watermelon if I'm feeling spicy.
Exactly. But I'm used to watermelon being pink.
Wait, what are we talking about?
That's a good question. You know what? I realize another thing that adds to just this experience is you also have that inner voice having ADHD. So it's like just an extra layer on top of what's already going on in there.
What are we supposed to do with that? We have disassociation, so we kind of lose our memory, and then when we come back, we're like, "Oh, look at the pretty colors over there," and we're like, "No, focus! You lost half of your day. You need to focus on what's in front of you."
Or then there's the other dimes where it's like, where is the music coming from? Who's doing it?
Who's playing the CD player? Turn it off! I can't focus.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Oh my god.
Okay,
Mm.
let's go on to your second question before we get sidetracked by gummy bears again. No, my gummy bears! Sorry, I'm
How many others are there?
Oh, I'd have to count. Hang on. Let me see. There's a lot of them. I could just say their names, but let me count with my fingers because I don't count normally.
I have to do the same thing.
All right, so there's me. Then
Mm-hmm.
there's the host.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then there's Keto.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is Suki. Then there's Junsei. There's Stray. There is Cece. There's Ivan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it for now. So about
Um,
8? Did I count that right? 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
I think only two of mine actually have names, and they definitely made them up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as you can tell by some of them, I mean, like
Hmm.
Stray. Stray's not a name. That's
See,
just how they
okay,
describe themselves.
it's not in that sense. It's more of like when they showed up and actually wanted to give a name. Perfect example. We have one that's named. One of my others is named Frank. That's the problem child. Their name's Frank,
Gosh dang it, Frank!
and they're a lot more. Mellow's not the word. They're a lot calmer. Well, that probably fits a little better. They're a lot calmer than they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But they them showing up was like was just like when they decided to give a name. It's like, nah, I think Frank's fine. Just
Yeah, that'll happen.
yeah, it's like you know what? Frank sounds good. That's a good one. Let's go with that. And the
When
other
it came to
thing,
their names, a lot of them
uh-huh.
came out whenever they were, whenever the host was a kid. So it was
Mm,
like a little kid naming animals. They didn't
mm.
really know what to name them, so it's like the first thing that comes to mind, you know? Like,
It's really funny because like Frank is one of the older ones too.
the oldest
Hmm.
would be Stray and Junsei.
Hmm.
The youngest would be me. I'm as recent as the past month, actually.
I'm trying to think who's the. I know who the youngest is. It's one of the ones that doesn't have a name, but I based Gragnar on them.
Aww, I've seen those videos. Gragnar's cute.
Hmm.
I've only
I
seen the first
based
couple of episodes, though.
Yeah, I've based Ragnar on them. They're one of the ones that the best way I can explain is they live in the walls and they they live in the walls and they're all of the goblin thoughts that I have.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm. They're the goblin thoughts. The that looks really easy to steal. I'm like, hey, I don't want to go to jail. Can you chill?
So that's
It
actually
is.
kind of funny because sometimes the altars can be very destructive towards the host.
Hmm.
Um, in a lot of ways, there's
Hmm.
like the physical harm, of course, but then there's also the ways that it's like, no, you know that's illegal, don't do it. But they're like, yes, yes, I want to
it's
do
it's so
it.
bad because it makes it worse is how do I explain this? There's so you know how like a lot of people with D.I.D have like an inner world shit that goes on like that as well.
Yes, it's kind of like having your own sanctuary.
It's really it's interesting because we have like I it's like we have a whole house but there's like a main room that a lot of us congregate in.
Mm-hmm.
um
So do we. We have a
and
house too. It's kind of
it's
like a bit of a mansion because of how many of us we are. We got a whole ecosystem in there.
it's fucking insane. But yeah, there's like a big main room that we all hang out with, and then there's like the big monitor, which is obviously the body. But
Mm-hmm.
I swear, when it comes to those moments where it's like, ooh, that thing looks really easy to steal, or like usual goblin, I swear that fucker knows where like all the wires are in the walls, and it's like it's like they're like pulling on wires and crossing shit over. So it's like, no, we're gonna do it. I'm like, no, stop. It's so bad. Oh my goodness. They're an interesting one. They're an interesting one, but
Out of
are one of the younger
curiosity,
ones.
are they one of your child alters or are they more like a teen?
I genuinely don't know.
Mm.
It's like one of those really weird spaces where it feels like they haven't like fully decided. Their entire personality is I'm the kobold that lives in the walls.
I mean, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, just so we can touch up on that and go into more detail, you can even tell me if any of these sound familiar. Because
Mm.
when it comes to D.I.D, it sounds like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're not entirely aware of the different types of
Mm.
people in a system. It sounds like, I mean, you definitely have a system from what you're telling me. By the way, I'm not a psychiatrist. Go see a psychiatrist. They're the professionals. I'm just here to talk about
Mm.
personal experiences. So, I'm going to touch up on that really quick. So, these are the different types. There's some common ones and some less
Mm.
common ones, and I will link where I'm reading all of this information, of course,
I will
down
take all
below.
of this information because
Mm-hmm.
like I think I've had the conversation with your host before where it's
Mm-hmm.
like I legitimately for a long time thought I was losing it, and then I think it's like the last couple of years I met one of my other friends who also is has D.I.D, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things got lined up and I was
They
like,
started clicking, right?
oh yes. I was like, oh, I didn't know this was an option.
Right. So for the longest time, people actually mistook it for, or mistook DID for a bipolar disorder or multiple personality disorder, which
Mm,
technically MPD is DID. It's just
mm,
they've officially come out with what it actually is, rather than
mm,
it just being a generic, oh, you're multiple personality disorder. Um,
mm,
Now they actually know what are, the most causes for it. Um, so, going off of that, there are different types of alters, personalities, parts in a dissociative identity disorder. There's common ones and there's less common ones. So, the common ones are, like the host, of course.
mm,
Um, there's child alters, which is, hello, that's me. Then there's internal self helpers. Those are more like the people who are in your head telling you you can do this. It's gonna be okay. You got this. Think of it like your self motivator. That's
Yep,
usually
we
that
got
that
we
person.
got one of those.
And then we have the opposite sex alters, which is just exactly how it sounds. It's just
Mm,
you, but the opposite.
mm,
um, There's persecutors, there's protectors, which we touched up on earlier. There's a sexual alter, which is something that's a little bit different. And then
mm,
there's a trigger warning for those out there. This is very sensitive topics. There's also suicidal alters or internal homicide alters.
mm,
And then teen alters as well. So, touching up on the more dangerous ones, like the suicidal and internal homicide, um, those are the ones that tend to get overlooked. Now, not to say that that's something that comes forward, but that is if you feel like you are seeing or like feeling any of those types of thoughts or emotions as you yourself as the host or as an alter, or if you have thoughts like that and you know that they're your alter, please seek medical attention because you don't want that to go, unchecked because there are ways to, help yourself and help them and better understand where that's coming from. And then, of course, with the sexual alter, that's exactly how it sounds. I'm not going to get into that too much because obviously that's more of a testy subject for some people. Um, And then we have the less commons, which are like animal altars, where they could be like a dog, a cat, a deer, or something like that. Baby and infant altars. So this one's very interesting. There's a lot of, I want to say it's kind of like taboo, or even like some people fetishize it, unfortunately. People who have this mentality when they go into this baby infant altar, like sometimes it might just be exactly what you're thinking. It might just be a fetish or something like that. But sometimes, and this is why it's so less common, it could be, just a way of somebody shrinking into themselves so that they don't have to deal with life. Because whenever you're that young and that innocent, life is just going by you. You don't have to worry about it. So it's kind of like that. There's also the caretaker and slash soother. Um, this is the person that tends to take care of the host the most. Very similar to like the self-helper. Now, this is the person who is very either motherly, fatherly, has some type of parental guidance towards you or others, or maybe they're the ones who care for you and your friends the most, or they care for other alters. And then this one you might recognize. There's less common, which is the demon, demonic, and evil altars. um, Now, just because you're a demon doesn't mean you're evil. It's possible. It's entirely possible.
They just show
Um,
up. Weirdly enough, two of them are in that role, but one of them's like, the way I've explained it to multiple people is we have Frank, like I said, the problem
mhm.
child, and it's always interesting because it's the only two that have names, which are the demons, and then we have Laura, who I just explained as the voice of reason.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are fun ones.
There are a few more too. There's one that's called a fragment. I'm not entirely familiar with that one actually.
Mm,
Then there's also a military or political altar, which sounds exactly what you would think.
mm,
Non human altars, which is kind of like the anthropomorphic type altars. Robot or machine altars. I genuinely think that most people with like, that are non-binary, I feel like most people would have that, but being non-binary as the host, I don't I don't think that's something that she has. So I'm not sure. There's also a shell. I'm not sure what that one is either. A spirit, ghost, or supernatural being. So that's where like the vampires and stuff like that comes into play. And then there's
mm,
subparts. Um, Now, just so you know, there's no particular types of alters that are needed for a D.I.D. diagnosis. Most people will only recognize a few types, and some people with D.I.D. may not recognize any or have any types not listed. Types of alters depend on what each person needs to survive, which brings me back to the very biggest topic of them all. D.I.D. is a defense mechanism. This is there to help the host as well as whoever becomes the host or whoever is driving the car at the time, the car being the person. um
mm.
it is there to help them protect the host and protect the body and protect the mind. It is entirely just mental defense. So yeah, it's very interesting to think about. And then let me see. Beep, 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 beep. Did you have any questions? I talk a lot, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm here to listen. I'm actually enjoying this a lot. What was the next question I had on the list?
Mm-hmm.
We've already answered that. Mm, we have somehow answered three of my questions on my list.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that.
Okay. I have the last question on my list is: do you happen to have a problem child?
A problem child? Oh goodness.
Not like enough to where I feel like it's not like in the vein of like the more extreme ends of like D.I.D, like you were saying with like this ooh, that thought's going. Hold on.
I'll grab it. Don't worry, I know exactly what to do. I'll eat a gummy bear so you bring it back. It'll lure it back to your brain. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, not like
It's
the extreme,
working.
like yeah, not like the extreme sides, like where it's like outwardly like full on, like the more like, for lack of a better word, dangerous ones, I guess that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Where you should seek actual help, but like one of the ones where you're just like, okay, you need to go stand in the corner for a second.
Um. So, and again, this is just from
Mm.
personal perspective.
Mm.
I'm eating gummy bears, so give me 1 second.
No, you're fine.
Mm. Editor Jojo, take the gummy bear out of my mouth. Ow! um, okay, so when it comes to something like that, yes.
Mm.
There is one that is a problem child, but they don't
Mm.
necessarily have a name. Um,
Mm.
so I listed about eight, I said eight earlier, 8 of them earlier.
Mm.
Um, there is one that was unmentioned, but they don't have a name. They don't really talk much, but
Mm.
they are very suicidal. They have the
Mm.
suicidal thoughts a lot of the time, um, and it's a lot of talking down and belittling of the host. Um,
Mm.
but they are not as loud as the rest of us. We're louder, so it's not so much problematic where they need to seek help because obviously
Mm.
they're seeing a psychiatrist, they're seeing a therapist, they're even seeing a primary care physician regarding all of that kind of stuff. So that is being managed and handled. Um, but yes, they do have a lot of those moments where it's kind of like, oh gosh, what did they call it? Bad brain juice day.
Ooh, been there.
Yeah.
We kind
Um,
of have one like that too, but they are locked out of the house and they're not allowed in. So,
good. But normally that particular alter only really makes their voice known whenever the host is going through a lot of stress or a lot of frustration, or if they feel like they're not being heard, or if there's a incredibly bad trigger that happens, which does tend to happen a lot when somebody has PTSD. There's a lot of things that can trigger them. It could be phrases, it could be a sound, it could be music, it could be um, you know the way somebody looks, the way somebody's dressed. It could be the way that their own clothes feel or look or whatever. Um, I know with the host in particular, there was one article of clothing that they tried on one day, and this was a couple years back. I only heard about this through the notes on that Simply Plural app. Um,
mm.
so essentially, there was one article of clothing that they had put on, and it was one of their favorites. They really liked it, and they looked in the mirror and they started crying, like
Oh.
breaking down. To the point where they practically ripped off that article of clothing and threw it away. Um, and they regretted doing that because they really miss it. But at the same time, it's one of those things of, well, if this was a trigger, then I don't want the trigger around me, kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there are some times where that can happen. And DID is very prickly. It's very rough. It can be very
It
mentally
is.
taxing for a lot of people. Especially if you don't
Yeah.
understand what's going on with your brain. Like you said at the
Mm-hmm.
very beginning, you felt like you were going crazy. And for a while, a lot of people, and funny enough, a lot of people with DID, um, refuse to think that they have DID. So whenever they're like, "Oh, I must be faking it. What if I'm overreacting? I
Oh
don't actually
my
have
god.
DID." All of that. You
Oh,
not again. I'm not a
no.
doctor. I cannot diagnose you,
No, I'm
but
just saying because
most of the
I've been
time,
there.
mm-hmm, most of the time, it's pretty much exactly what you think it is. Hi, Corey.
Yeah.
Corey says plural gang. Hi,
Gang
plural
gang.
gang. Welcome to the Lore Project. Feel free to ask any questions
Mhm.
about DID, mental health, or anything. This is a safe space, and we are here to answer any questions. Right now, I have my friend here, Belfie. He goes by a literal demon on Twitch.
Bleep.
Yeah, we're just talking about DID and asking a bunch of questions and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, no, I feel that way too hard. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
you said, there's a lot of people that have like that disconnect with their body. I feel that in like the weirdest way. I think the
Yeah.
way I have been able to explain it the easiest to most people, if in the sense where I'm actually talking about it, it's like I'm like it feels like we have five kobolds trying to pilot a mech, and we have lost the manual.
For us, it's like there was never a manual. The manual never
Exactly.
arrived. I
Exactly.
I think there's a quote from Doctor Who that just it rings so well with me. It's the you threw out the manual. I disagreed with it.
Oh my god. Yes.
That's 100% what it feels like
It
sometimes.
really does. Oh my gosh, it's the fucking worst. It feels like I don't know. I think the like with me and like I just have like really weird things with my body where it's just like this feels more like a container that I have been put in, and it's really weird because lots of times I am hyper aware of like where my body ends and the rest of the world begins, and it's very jarring some days.
Also, for anyone who is sitting in chat, I did post a link for what we're reviewing right now words regarding alters and dissociative identity disorder, otherwise known as MPD, OSDD, and partial DID. So it won't go into all the details. It'll even break down all of the different types of alters, just in case you weren't aware, or if you just want to read up and maybe educate yourself a little bit, because that's what we're doing. Um, my host has actually only recently been diagnosed with DID within the past 2 years. But yeah.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a diagnosis, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, that a lot of the times people can't exactly, they don't have the ability to get those diagnoses, and it's actually incredibly difficult to get that type of diagnosis unless you're talking to a
Yeah.
trusted, doctor. Um,
Yep.
it was so funny because my host was telling us, hey, I think I have DID, and we're like, we think you do too. and
Everybody
then
sat down around the table, like, I think we might have this DID thing we figured out. Like, the math is mathing, but we could be wrong.
the
Everybody
best
else is
part,
like, you're using we. What are you talking about?
the best part about it was that the host
Mm,
went to their significant other Morphe and was just
mm,
like, "Hey, I think I might have this, but I'm not sure. I don't want to I don't want to associate myself with DID and then be wrong about it and feel really bad about saying I have it." And then the very next day, they had a psychiatry appointment, and they're like, after everything you told us, do you think you might have DID? And they're like, no, what's that? And then sure enough, the psychiatrist is like, well, here you go.
Merry Christmas.
I've known about my plurality for a while now, more than a few years. See, that's the thing. A lot of people will know that they have the plural, but they're not 100% certain until they get the diagnosis. Some people are just certain and they don't need a
Mm.
diagnosis. But depending on like how severe some alters may be, or how severe some of the destructive tendencies can be, that's whenever it's like it's necessary to seek the words. Ah, it's necessary to seek medical attention because then they can give you some medication. Um, Unfortunately, DID is I don't know if you knew this, Belfie, but did you know that DID is considered a red flag to a lot of people?
Ooh, nope, did
Yeah,
not know that.
people think DID is a red flag because they're like, oh, they're bipolar, they're gonna go off the hinges and become a killer or something. And you wanna know why that is? You
Because of that fucking movie.
Because of so many different movies.
Yes.
I talked about this on my first episode
Mm.
of the Lord Project, but let me pull them up really quick. So one
I
second.
know one specifically I can think of that I do not remember the name of. I'm pretty sure M. Night Shyamalan made that one.
Split. That's the one you're
Yep,
thinking
there
of.
it is. Yep, that
So
one.
Split is one of the major reasons why a lot of people think, oh, you're gonna go crazy. But here's the thing:
Mm-hmm.
Split did a lot of things right and then a lot of things wrong.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they definitely portrayed what it's like to have that alter, come like be an alter, but
Mm.
they did it in the most extreme Hollywood fashion, which makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
there's another one that's like that. It's another popular movie. One second, where is it? Uh, oh my goodness, hang on. Let me see if I can find it. Fight Club. Have you seen Fight Club?
Yeah. I
So
still remember the first time I watched that movie.
I have to tell you one thing.
Mm.
I've never seen it. My host has. I looked at the
Mm.
synopsis of the movie, right?
Mm.
But here's the thing. Fight Club is genuinely a great representation of what it could be like for the disassociative part. Because
Mm.
he thinks it's two different people. He thinks he's himself, and then this other
Mm-hmm.
guy is somebody else. Only for him. And if you haven't seen this movie, and it's spoilers right now. We're talking about movie spoilers. At the end, when he finds out, oh, that was just me
The whole
the
time?
whole time, and I know that was supposed to be the whole twist and everything, but uh, it's such a good example of what the
It is.
disassociation part comes from.
It
But it's
is.
also a bad example of what the
Yeah.
destructive tendencies that could be surrounded by DID.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a good example of the disassociation in
Like
this
I
movie.
like I have beef, but you make sense at the same time.
I'm waiting for the movie where the protagonists are plural. That would be awesome. But honestly, it's just there's so many good movies out there that start to like they're on the right page. You're on the right
It's like
page,
the math is mathing, but
but
you're wrong.
you're just doing things all wrong. And Fight Club's also a really good example of the destructive alters because he's destructive. And it's
Yeah.
also another good example of whenever your alters can fuse, because sometimes the host can fuse with an alter and become a new host and become a new person, which is technically what happens at the end of Fight Club. Another one that's a bad example, real bad example, Psycho.
I don't think I've seen that one.
That's the one with something Bates, where he
Oh, American Psycho.
not American Psycho, just
I,
Psycho, the black and
I
white
could have.
one. It's the
Okay, I
one
haven't
where he
seen that
pretends
one.
to be his mom and kills a bunch of people.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's another one that's just a bad example. It's bad. No, it's not.
Mm.
I'm lucky to have mostly chill system members, but a bunch of gay furries. Yeah!
That's that shit we
Heck
like.
yeah! And you know what? It's still Pride Month. Let's go! We love the gay furries here.
Mm-hmm.
The old movie with the shower scene? Yes! Actually, that's an iconic scene in media, funny enough. But there's a few others like Shutter Island. Have you seen Shutter Island?
I have that.
Yeah.
I still think about that plot twist to this day. Where I'm like,
Right.
oh my god.
So that's another. If you just look up like movies about dissociative identity disorder, it'll give you like a small list, and that's one of them. Now, I've never seen Shutter Island. I think my host has, but I don't share the memory of that one in particular. Um, there's another one that's Me, Myself, and Irene. That one has Jim Carrey in it.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Same. But, like, again, the host might have, I don't know. So, apparently, I was reading this one, and I was a little perturbed by it, because it sounded correct, like it sounds like D.I.D., until I got to one part in particular. So, I'm going to read it to you. So it says... Charlie is a mild-mannered, hard-working, always helpful, and devoted and loving father to 3 sons. Unfortunately, Charlie has split personality disorder, and when he runs out of his medication, that's where his alters come out. So, there's no medications to stop you from switching. That's not possible. So, it's kind of like they put this narrative out in the open of you can take medication and stop it from happening, but that's not how that works. It's a defense mechanism. We come out whenever it's necessary. Even now, it's like I came out not out of force, but because my host asked me to. Now, not to say that I am, and this is going to sound very meta for all of you out there, but for people with D.I.D., you might understand it better. So you cannot force an alter to come forward. That is not possible. There are ways of doing positive triggers, and you can do that. Now, doing that may cause issues between you and your alters unless you have a healthy relationship with them. So the way that this works with me is that I'm talking, and you'll even hear it. There may be times where I'll pause to think, and then I'll start talking again. My host is in control, but they're just translating for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the head. I'm right here. I promise you, I'm right here. I can hear and see everything. But my host is in control. I think it's just more like they're asking me questions, and I'm answering them, and they're like my walkie-talkie. They go up, 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 up. Except the gummy bears. The gummy bears thing was mine. That's mine. I love the gummy bears. My host doesn't like sweets. I love sweets. So much. I'm also not allowed to have coffee. Jojo said it's not allowed anymore.
It's that bad.
It tastes like cereal milk. It tastes like Fruit Loops.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
It's delicious. It's like matcha with lavender and honey and whipped cream. And then when you mix it together, it just tastes like, like if you have Fruit Loops and it sits in the cereal milk for a long period of time, and then you drink the cereal milk and it just tastes like fruity milk.
they used to
Tell me what it
sell
tastes
this
like.
coffee creamer, and I'm so mad that they stopped selling it. It was Fruity Pebbles. They had Fruity Pebbles and they had Cocoa Pebbles flavored. It straight up
Mmm.
tasted like cereal milk. Oh my god. It was so I don't like coffee. That's the thing with me. I have to be like we have to be in a mood for coffee. I'm more of an energy drinks person, which is a whole different issue.
I can't have energy drinks either. They give me the jitters and I start to shake.
I have to find like the ones that have like the more natural caffeine in them because yeah, no, those
Nah, get
like
the
I can't.
sugar. Shove it down your throat. So,
I started getting like the powdered supplement ones that you can buy like gamer subs
oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I started getting. I feel better drinking those than when I used to drink monsters.
You know what? I just thought of something interesting to ask.
Mm,
Okay, so hear me out, right? So
mm,
it was briefly brought up for like a second. My host hates sweets. And I mean like
mm,
hates sweets. They're not a sweets fan. I love sweets. I love them so much. I give her cavities and she hates it. So, that's the thing. Um, when you do alter switches, that can happen. Your taste buds are different. Let's say, actually, one of our alters does not. It's our protector in particular.
mm,
They hate pickles, but my host loves pickles. So there was a day where the host kind of they were not doing well. Protector had to
mm,
come out. Um, and they were taking care of them, making sure they took their medication, drink lots of water, but they also needed to. The host has these things called pickle pops, which
mm,
is just like like those popsicles that are like fruity. It's like that, but
mm,
it's pickle juice, right? So
mm.
they eat those, and then like it's delicious and it's good for them, and it actually it's good for your legs so you don't cramp up and stuff like that either. So
Mm.
they were like, oh, I guess I have to have a pickle pop. The protector goes and eats a pickle pop, and I started laughing because there's a note. Hang on, let me see if I can bring up the note. And my avatar may freeze up for a second, but it's so funny. Hang on, one second, one second.
Oh, I get the eggs thing. I get that eggs thing. All of us hate eggs, though. That's the problem. Unless we make them very specific ways.
All of my system members hate eggs except the snake girl, Susie. She likes eggs. I like eggs. I think they're yummy.
I hate eggs so much.
Okay,
I have to make them specific ways. Gib, gib, gib.
so here's the message. They said, you had you had a panic attack. You're okay now. You rested and took a break. You ate a snack of pickle pop and two small oranges. P.S. I don't like pickles. You're so funny.
Oh my
Because they were like,
god.
oh yeah, I love pickles. And then the protector was like, this is disgusting.
I hate everything about this.
And then the host's significant other, Morphe, was like, oh, we're going to get along just fine because he also hates the taste of pickles.
Uh,
So,
that explains so many things. Like I think it's like it's an extra layer. It's it's probably also the autism for me at least. It explains why because like just because of how we have things set up like council wise, it explains why I'll go through phases where it's like body's just like I love this thing. And then just one day, randomly, and it's always like in the middle of eating this, and it's either eating it or I'm about to make it, and then randomly it's like, if I even think about this thing ever again, I'm gonna throw up.
yeah, that does happen. That is
It's
a
the
thing.
worst. It's the
sometimes it's like a
worst.
texture thing. Like you could be
Mm-hmm.
like, man, I'm gonna eat a baked potato today. I love baked potatoes. And then the next day, you could possibly still be the host, but
Mm.
not know that somebody else is driving. And so you'll go to eat a baked potato and be like, ugh, this is gross. Why am I eating this? And then be like, pit, pit.
It's the worst. It's always when I buy a bunch of it too.
Yeah, it's like it's a texture thing too. Sometimes they don't like textures. Sometimes they don't like tasting
Mm-hmm.
things. It can be so many different things, and it's so funny because like D.I.D is like being so many different people in one body, and it's so confusing
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
It is very confusing. It's a lot of it's like I wouldn't say full on like conflicting personalities. It's
Mm-hmm.
just some of them have, we'll say, compatibility issues, I think is the best word to use.
Yeah, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had one of those moments where it's like, man, I love this thing, and then you take a bite and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, ew, ew.
Yep. Take a bite and I'm like, I've just bought 5 bajillion of these. Or sometimes I'll have a different issue where it's just like, I cannot stand the texture of this, but it's really tasty, so I'm gonna eat it anyway.
Yeah. It's oh my gosh, there was one
Mm-hmm.
day my host got so mad. So my host has two favorite sodas, right?
Mm-hmm.
One favorite soda, you probably know this, is Dr. Pepper, right? They love Dr. Pepper. And then their second favorite soda is Big Red, which is just a soda that's red and it's sugary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um so one day they were having a Big Red and they were drinking it and they were like halfway done with the Big Red. And then all of a sudden they're like, this is too much. This tastes like syrup. I hate this.
I hate that. I
And
hate
then
that I've been there.
it was like, that was the last thought they had. And whenever they came to, their Big Red was sitting in front of them, had not been touched since then. It had been hours and the soda went flat. And so they couldn't enjoy it anymore. And they got mad.
No.
Disassociation sucks sometimes because you just start losing things like the fizziness of the soda.
I swear it's okay. It has to be a mixture of a passive D.I.D and ADHD of losing things. I
Yeah,
swear
both.
things slip through portals. I
Yeah.
like there are times I lose things that it doesn't make sense. I'm like, it was in my hand. How did I lose it?
Oh, actually, that is misplacing items very common, and it can
It's
happen
so.
within seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Seconds. I can't tell you how many times me, myself, and I have been like out and like
Mm.
walking around, and I would be like, oh, I'm gonna sit down with the dogs and a cat, and I'm gonna grab this remote and I'm gonna watch some TV, and I'll turn on the TV and put the remote down and then grab some water, and then I turn and the remote is gone. It's gone. It's just gone. And I'm like, what happened? Where did it go? And then you end up sitting up, standing up, flipping things over, and it's in the same spot that you saw it last. And you're like, how?
Like how? What do you mean?
How
How did
does
it
this
come back?
happen?
Like where are the goblins at? Are they moving things around? Who sucked this through a portal and put it back?
Right? Sometimes you can put it like right on her chest, like the host would just have it, and then like have the remote, put it on their chest so that they know where it is, and then they'll look at their phone, and then put the phone down and go to change the channel, and the remote is gone. How? How does it happen? I don't
That's me.
understand.
That's me with my keys. I'm at the point because I've locked myself out of my house multiple times because I lose my keys because I think I have them in my hand. I have to now. I have like a clip where I literally clip them to my pants, and then when I go to lock my door, I have to physically take the keys out of my pocket, look at them while I'm locking the door, just to make sure I have not left them inside.
You could put them. There's like an empty table. You can put it in the center of the table. You'll be looking
Mm-hmm.
at it. You'll see. You know what? It's that episode of SpongeBob where with mystery where he's looking at the flower to make sure it doesn't go away. And like Patrick says hi, and then he's like hi Patrick, and he turns away for like a second. It's exactly what it's like. You can stare at it. You can just keep staring at it, and then you turn away for 2 seconds, and it's gone.
Oh my god.
I don't understand. It's so frustrating.
It's
Like,
beyond frustrating.
Like this.
Yep. Like I remember one time I was making cereal. I poured like the cereal in the bowl and was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get some cereal." Go back to the fridge. Where's the milk? I literally pulled it out of the fridge. Where did I put the milk at? I spent 30 minutes looking for it. It was on top of the fridge.
I don't know. D.I.D is just. It makes you so forgetful, but it also isn't forgetting it. It's just like somebody else is moving it, and you're like, "Oh, where did you put it?" And they're like, "I don't know. Where did you put it?" And you're like, "I don't know. Where did you put it?" And then it turns into that Spider-Man meme where everyone's pointing at each other.
Yup.
Like, where did you put it?
Yep. Or there's the other one, that the eternal problem where you have forgot something. You have forgot something. Somebody knows what it is. They've either also forgotten or they're being a little shit about it. They're like, "I'll tell you later." And then you walk all the way downstairs back to what you were doing. They're like, "Oh yeah, we forgot the thing upstairs." Like, "No! You motherfucker! I have to go back upstairs."
Like, what do you want from me, Anna? Those are the little brats.
Mm-hmm.
Around the people.
That's the Gragnar one. That's the Gragnar one for sure.
You know what I hate personally is this is just turning into a pet peeves with the idea. But like what I hate is whenever you make, like, let's say you make a good steak. Like a good steak with some nice garlic potatoes next to it, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna eat this. It's gonna be delicious." And then you blink and it's gone and you don't remember eating it. The satisfaction is gone.
It's so bad. It's either that or the other one that, like, it's like less bad, but it's still annoying. Where you're like, "Okay, cool, I have one more bite left. Where did it go?"
Did you do this?
That reminds me of a fucking D.I.D meme I saw. Somebody, they were like, "Okay, cool, time to run a bath," and then the next picture is like, "Who dumped tea in the bath?" I was fucking crying. Oh my god.
Wait, actually, what is the weirdest thing that you came out of a D.I.D moment for? Like, you disassociated, and when you came back, you're like, "What? What? What the? What?"
I think the big one, that it hasn't happened in a very long time, but I used to sleepwalk. So I would wake up with random things in my bed all the time. I think the worst one to date, I had an entire bowl of popcorn. There was still
Oh,
popcorn in it, so of course I woke up and then dumped the entire bowl on the floor.
oh
I'm like, there's no fucking way.
no! You just wanted a little midnight snack. That's all.
Apparently, didn't eat any of it, just made a giant mess.
I think for me, oh gosh,
Hmm.
oh, what was it? It
Hmm.
was. I have to remember, but I have to check to see if it's my memory or if someone else's memory.
That's such a mood. That's such a
uh,
mood.
oh, hang on, let me think. Let me think. Oh, I know. Okay, so this happened recently, right? So the host was unpacking their office, and they have a bunch of like figures that they never really got to display because they didn't have the
Mm.
space for it, you know. So they started unpacking a bunch of their figures, and they came across like an old figure of like an anime girl, and they're like, "Wow, I like this anime. I love this
Oh
character. This is
no.
awesome." And then right next to it was another character, and they're like, "Who the heck is this? I don't know who this is. Why do I have this?" And they and they went to Morphe, and they're like, "Hey, is this yours?" And they're like, "No, I don't know that character." And then they went to the child, and they were like, "Hey, is this yours?" They're like, "No, I've never seen that anime before." And they're like, "Well, then how did I get this?" And then they proceeded to find like 6 more figures and being like, "Who are you? Who
Where
are
did you
you?"
come from?
Still don't know. Still have no idea. They just sit in a box now. They went back into storage until somebody can remember.
Oh my god.
Like, imagine just going through your stuff and being like, "Wow, I packed these away," and then you open it up and you're like, "Who's
Who
are
are you?
these?"
Who are you? Who are you people?
It's just so confusing sometimes.
It's
Like,
very confusing. What's another one that happens with me a lot? Two. I can think of two off the top of my head.
oh,
Mentally messaging people,
oh,
but not actually sending the message.
having a full conversation without it
Mm-hmm.
really happening.
And you're like, why haven't they responded? And you're like, oh, I never actually typed it out. Huh. Or the
I know that the host is guilty of that with you, and you're guilty of that with them. I've seen y'all's messages. I've seen y'all apologize to each other, and you're like, "Oops, sorry, I thought I sent this." And it's like, "Oops, sorry, I thought I sent this."
oh, it's the worst. It's the worst. And then the other one, the ever present one. Did I actually make the tea, or did I forget it in the microwave? Or where is the tea? Or it's like, I had tea next to me. I know I made it. And then there's just that one in the background. No, we actually never got up and made the tea. It's like, no!
Who went on this mental adventure and wanted to drag me with you?
The worst. It's the worst. Or when you're like, okay, cool, I did make the tea. Go check in the microwave. This has been in here for 2 days. How did I forget about you?
It just keeps happening. It just keeps happening. I don't know.
So bad. It's so bad.
Well, we are reaching the end of this episode. Did you have any last questions before we end it?
I have one, but I don't know how to form it into a question.
Do your best, and I will do my best to form it into an answer.
Okay, we will do it as an example. So, some of my like others have like shown up in like not exactly weird ways. Like we've had the one that I based Ragnar on has just
Mm-hmm.
always been that voice in the background that's kind of just hiding in the fucking walls, and eventually it's like, oh, okay, that's who the fuck you are. I think the most interesting one that I've had is we were having one of those. The best way I can think to explain it, you know that scene in SpongeBob when the brain's on fire and all the fucking SpongeBobs are running around.
What's his name? What's his name?
Yeah, we were having a day like that. It was pretty bad. And this is when Laura showed up. It was like a situation where it's just like all hell's breaking loose, and then she's just kind of there, like, oh, hi.
She's like, "Hello, I'm HR. I'm here
That is literally her. Like the amount of times we're just having like a really bad brain day, and Laura's just like, "Okay, bitch, it's a ghetto in here. We need to get it together."
It's ghetto in here.
It's so bad.
You know, I've been learning a lot of new phrases recently, and I think one of my newest favorite phrases is aura maxing. I had no idea what it was, and then Morphe and Derek described it to me, and then they told me that I can only say aura maxing if I say bounce on it crazy style afterwards.
Oh my god!
And then JoJo said no, and I was like, what does it mean? And then they told me, and I was like, oh.
I've been taking aura maxing and mixing it with other ones. Like my new favorite one I've been doing recently is tism maxing.
Oh, they also introduced what we've been saying is baguette the long way.
That's so funny. When our friend sent me it, it was like peanut butter jelly the long way, and it's not them making it on a baguette. That's what you would expect. That's what you expect. No, they took 2 pieces of bread, stood them up, and put it like in the. Yeah.
I need a picture of that. I need
Hold on. I sent it to me on Instagram. Let me see if I can find it.
But we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for this episode of the Lore Project, episode 2. And thank you so much, Belfie, for hanging out and asking questions.
That's me.
Having some awesome, fun conversations. You're more than welcome to come back anytime and we can talk about more stuff that bother us about being D.I.D.
Please and
sometimes.
thank you. I will gladly come back.
Yeah. And if you want to see their content, you can actually click on the About Me section below. I did link their Twitch there, and you can go see some of their content there and all the chaos that they bring. Wow.
Chaos.
But yeah, it'd be really awesome if you support our friends around here, especially people who are supportive of us with the D.I.D. community. And of course, we like having all the plurals around.
All of them.
Thank you guys so much, and I hope to see y'all at the next one. Say bye, Belfie!
Bye!